So let's start with Professor Mohammad Marandi, who joins us from Tehran University in Iran. Good to have you with us. Mohammad, let me start with you. Iran's president says he understands Turkey's fears for its security. However, he does oppose military intervention. What are Tehran's concerns about Operation Peace Spring?
Well, I think the biggest concern that the Iranians have is that this will lead to further complications with regards to Syrian sovereignty. The Iranians believe that the only solution is for the Turkish government and the Syrian government to gradually move towards some type of rapprochement. The two countries obviously have terrible relations. In recent years, they have been negotiating behind the scenes. Security officials have spoken to each other, but ultimately, if they want to solve the problem, they have to begin cooperating in earnest at multiple levels, and that would also improve the lives of people, because cross-border trade is also something that has stopped over the last few years, and that's why many people have left the region.
Iran has been holding an unannounced military drill near Turkey's border. Is that intended to send a specific message?
No, I don't think Iran has any intention to send any particular message to Turkey. Iran recognizes Turkey's problems in Syria. The Iranians, of course, from the very beginning were opposed to what happened in Syria. The Iranians believed that the United States created this mess alongside the Saudis and others by supporting extremists. The U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency document of 2012, which was partially released by Judicial Watch, reveals that the United States knew its close allies were supporting the extremists, and the head of that organization at the time, the very famous and notorious General Flynn, admitted in an interview on Al Jazeera that the United States took a willful decision to support the extremists who were creating a Salafist entity, as the document states, between Syria and Iraq, and that, of course, ultimately was ISIS. So the Iranians believe that the mess in Syria was led by the U.S., and Takfiri and Wahhabi forces close to Saudi Arabia were among the worst elements. And now, because of the mess in Syria, the PKK has grown. Terrorist organizations that are a legitimate concern for Turkey have grown, and they too have been supported by the United States. So the United States has been supporting extremists for the last 8 years, whether it's extremists of the Wahhabi trend or extremists of the PKK sort. The Iranians believe the worst case scenario is the U.S. occupation and U.S. interference in regional affairs. But ultimately, the Iranians believe that Turkey's move inside Syria is a violation of Syrian sovereignty, and it will be costly for Turkey. So again, the Iranians believe that they have to, and others have to cooperate to bring the two countries together.
I mean, to be fair to the US, they're not the only ones who are playing a part in Syria. There's been a lot of state actors involved in Syria, including Iran. Sure, all of this has contributed to the mess, hasn't it?
Well, the United States, from very early on, according to the document that I mentioned earlier, and it would be good for your viewers to read the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency document of 2012, the U.S. from early on supported the extremists, and we know that by 2012 they were the dominant force. That's what the Americans admitted. The Iranians only entered Syria in 2013, where at a time, and Hezbollah as well, at a time when tens of thousands of foreign fighters had already entered the country with foreign support. So Iran wanted to prevent the fall of Damascus and later on Baghdad into the hands of those who were holding the black flag. But the Iranians, both in Iraq and in Syria, they were inside the country at the request of the legitimate government, the internationally recognized government. The United States, its presence in Syria is illegal. It is an occupation. They're not allowed to be there. So in the past, they were supporting extremists, as the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency document admits, and now they are supporting the PKK terrorists, as Trump has sort of implicitly admitted himself recently too.
Mohammad Marandi in Tehran, thank you for that.